And welcome back to the OHIO podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That handsome devil to my left, that's JR in the know. And we are here tonight to talk about Ohio State football. Today was the first practice of spring football. Spring was definitely in the air here in the Midwest. Felt good outside. I think we almost got up to 70, but the cold front is here and the colder temperatures are back. So I guess it's just another day in spring for us in the Midwest. But JR, things are heating up over at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Ryan Day, Chip Kelly met with the media today following the opening practice. Here's the big news everybody's talking about. Number one, it's official. Worst kept secret in Ohio State. Sonny Styles is a linebacker. We all knew that was going to happen.
Right, and let's be clear. This was the right move with
Yeah.
Caleb Downs coming in at safety and Lathan Ransom coming back for his safety role. There really was no spot for Sonny Styles to be up in the safety spot, and really, I don't know if you've seen the pictures. I've heard Sonny Styles got bigger, but if you saw some of the pictures of him at practice, he looks near a defensive lineman size. At some point, if this guy keeps growing and they keep putting him in the weight room, he might just turn into a defensive lineman at some point because he's getting huge. But no, I think his athleticism and his coverage ability leads him to be a linebacker, and I'm excited for it, man. I think everybody's excited about C.J. Hicks, and don't get me wrong, I want to see C.J. Hicks too, but you know if you can't learn the defense, you can't learn the defense. I mean, we saw it with Josh Proctor. There was another guy we saw that with. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but Jim Knowles is not going to put you in there unless you know the defense. And honestly, I'm fine with it because you might be be an athletic freak, but you got to play defense the right way.
Yeah, having CJ, it sounded like CJ was at the other strong side linebacker position and that they had Sonny kind of roaming a little bit, which is interesting because that could mean he could be a weapon that Jim Knowles can put anywhere on the field at any time, and that's intriguing to me. His daddy, Lorenzo Styles Jr., was a big human being as well at linebacker. So the fact that Sonny suddenly got 15 pounds of muscle this offseason since the bowl game, not surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised when he starts football in summer after spring's over if he doesn't pack on another 5 to 10 more pounds. His frame can take it. He's rather tall at 6'4", so and incredibly athletic. And I'm sure that a 15 to 25 pounds of muscle is not going to slow him down any bit. It's just going to make him more fierce. So that was big news.
Well, and let's remember too, the dude is only what, 19, 20 years old at this point. He came in when he was 17. So,
Yeah.
obviously this is a good problem to have, but when he got to Ohio State, he was still growing and he was still turning into the body type that he needs to be a player. So it wasn't a surprise to see him at safety, but you definitely knew if this guy keeps growing, he wasn't going to stay there. And I agree with you. If Jim Knowles can find some kind of way to just trigger him on the field and use him in certain situations, not as a gadget player, but like you said, as a weapon, that could be a whole nother element to this defense that people didn't see last year that they'll have to game plan for.
Apparently, Jeremiah Smith is a Greek god at the wide receiver position.
Somebody said
We
he's bigger than Marv is now.
Do you see that picture floating around Twitter today of
Yeah.
him just flexing from there's not a
Yeah.
muscle in his body that isn't flexing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. That young man is superhuman. Gosh darn. I mean, when you look at Emeka Egbuka, who's apparently playing all three wide receiver positions, and they are planning on moving him around. Good luck trying to stop him. If you're going to put a man on him, they're just going to move him to a round and create complete holes for the running game. So good luck trying to stop that. You got Carnell Tate coming back. People really excited about him. Brandon Ennis, who was a 5-star last year, and now you throw Jeremiah Smith into this. I mean, my gosh, the weapons here. I guess Will Howard said it best. Just get him the ball as quick as you can. It's all you got to do, man. And it
Yeah.
sounds like Chip Kelly's going to design ways to make sure that they get the ball in their hands quickly.
Yeah, when Will Howard was talking, he said that but then he also said he was like, I think being quarterback at Ohio State is the easiest job there is. He said because Chip Kelly's gonna scheme guys open, and all I have to do is get the ball to them, and they're gonna run away with it. So it's like he's kind of got himself in the perfect situation here. I don't get me wrong, we were absolutely blessed with C.J. Stroud, the just not only the player that he was at Ohio State, but the person that he was, and he continues to show that in the NFL. Just how high character of an individual he is. But there's an aspect of this offense now that I don't think we're going to need the pinpoint accuracy on every single throw because Chip Kelly's going to be scheming these guys open a bit. And I was really excited to hear Will Howard talk about the RPO that Chip Kelly is installing because that means that, this run pass option, it's not just run for Quinshon Judkins and for Travion Henderson. I'm absolutely sure there's going to be some running options for Will Howard there as well. So when you've got that many weapons on the edge, you got two weapons in the backfield like that, and you have a quarterback who looks about as big as some of the offensive linemen.
Yeah, he's huge, man. He's huge.
Taller than the center. The center.
Carson Hinsman. He was taller than Carson Hinsman.
Crazy.
Ryan Day said it today. All 5 quarterbacks are mobile. Those were his words. I thought that was interesting.
I don't think we've ever had that under Ryan Day, where every quarterback in the room is mobile.
Not under Ryan Day. Under Urban Meyer, that was a necessity. Yes.
Could you imagine what Urban Meyer would have done with Will Howard? He just used this guy as a battering ram.
Actually, yes, I know exactly what he would do. His name was Tim Tebow.
But like taller Tim Tebow. Like Tebow was big,
and probably a better thrower than Tim Tebow.
Yeah, that's true as well.
I don't know if he's as good of a Christian as Tim Tebow. That's yet to remain to be seen, though. But or as handsome as my wife might say. Although Will Howard's a handsome man, he's a handsome young man.
He's got some charm, dude. In those interviews, when he flashes his smile, he gets the media laughing in the background and stuff. I mean, like, and it was hard to pinpoint it last year. And I'm not trying to turn this into a Kyle McCord fest or anything like that, but like, there was an aspect of charisma and charm that I felt like Kyle McCord didn't have, which is fine. Not everybody has that. But, like, as a quarterback and the leader of the team, you kind of need that. And I'm glad that we're seeing that Will Howard has some of that because I think that, it's going to become endearing and, a good leadership point for Will Howard for this team.
If Will Howard has charisma and charm, then grit and moxie is how I would describe Brown. Because that boy absolutely is going scorched earth on anybody who thinks he's just going to walk away from this thing. And I thought it was incredibly interesting today that Ryan Day admitted that this thing is going to absolutely be a competition. I'm going to play for all of you basically a quick clip of Ryan Day. It's about 2 minutes long, talking about the quarterback battle. That is definitely a battle. We'll be right back after we play this short clip.
Well, I think you don't just walk into Ohio State. I've said this before and just, think you're going to go become the starting quarterback. It doesn't work that way. There's just too much pride here. What Mick Marotti and our strength staff does here in the off season, there's just a lot that comes with it. You don't just show up in the weight room and then go home. I mean, there's a lot of accountability that happens, and our guys take a lot of pride in that. And so there's only one way to do that, and that's to earn it through respect. But, we had our champions meeting yesterday in the first quarter, and we had a bunch of newcomers, grade out as gold, and that's a big deal. And that's how you earn the respect of the guys around you. But that's going to be like that for the freshmen as well. The guys who are coming in and, should still be seniors in high school are here trying to do that. Now they're younger, and they don't have as much experience as maybe some of the older guys like Will and Quinshon or Caleb Downs, but they still have to earn the respect of the team just as much. And that starts, in the weight room, but ultimately it's going to matter when we get on the field. I think at least in the first quarter of the spring, we're just going to let them go play and just get a bunch of reps and roll them. I think as that starts to settle a little bit, we'll start to maybe make sure guys are getting the reps with the ones that need to, but we're going to let them compete, and it's hard for us to say, someone like, Julian Sayin or Lincoln or, Air or whoever, hey, you got to come in here and compete when, the first thing they do is take a bunch of reps with the threes. Now we want to roll you, whatever drill it might be, and so that you're getting reps with everybody, so you can show what you do. So we'll compete. I mean, we have the fortune of having a little bit of time right now, and then as things shake, I think the big focus, and this is something we talked to our staff about, is in the spring we want to develop the individual player. As we get closer to the preseason, now we start to really grab onto the schemes and the team and the chemistry of the group. Now you still need to understand the schemes in the spring and how you fit into them, but that's something that we want to make sure we're developing each individual player right now, and that's the focus more than how does he fit in with the scheme or the chemistry of the offense.
He's going to let him go. This is a straight-up competition. Now, what I didn't play in that clip, JR, was that he admittedly, and because of the transfer portal, he admitted that we might have to have a starter in place by the end of spring to be fair to the other person. If that person's Will Howard, I don't know that Devin Brown cares.
Yeah, and honestly, I think we also need to remember how young Devin Brown is, right? Like, he's a redshirt sophomore. I know some people are looking at him like a redshirt junior or like a redshirt senior, where it's like, oh, this guy has to compete right now to win the job. And it's like, no, he still has time. So, we could very well see Devin Brown get a year under his belt after Will Howard moves on after this year. So, it's not like dire time for Devin Brown right now, and that's what I never understood with the comments from people about like, oh, he's going to transfer and stuff. Is it's like 11 Warriors, I think, put out something about they thought Devin Brown and Lincoln Kienholz are both going to transfer. I never bought that, because he still has time, and even if Will Howard does win this battle, like, Devin Brown, he was supportive behind Kyle McCord, and if you can be supportive for Kyle McCord, I think you can be pretty well supportive for Will Howard as well. So I don't worry about him at all. And right now, I look at it and say, no matter what happens with Devin Brown, I'm just glad that he has this attitude that he has, and he's going to be a huge culture piece for this team. And when it is his time, he's going to shine, and he's going to look really, really good and play really well for the Buckeyes.
So what you're saying is 11 Warriors has riders who live in their mom's basement?
And are cowards.
Oh, shoot, you're going to get me sued, JR.
Yeah. I didn't say it. Somebody else did. Go talk to that guy.
There you go. No, this is great. I love it. I tell you, Devin Brown is endearing it to Buckeye Nation. Like, he is – I saw the same things happen to Cleveland Browns fans when, what's his nuts from Oklahoma came in and set their franchise on fire with his "I'm a Browns person,"
Oh, okay.
Talk is one thing, doing it on the field is another. And like I mentioned in yesterday's video, and go watch that if you haven't watched it yet. He's injury prone, JR. He needs, I got to see it on the field. I need to see it on the field. But if Will Howard thinks he's just going to walk in and this thing's going to be all his and he don't have to do nothing, that ain't happening. Because Devin Brown's going to give him every ounce of what he's got. Plus, Ryan Day even said, we're rolling Lincoln Kienholz and Julian Sain and Aaron Nolan with the ones at times too. That's going to happen. And if someone flashes to the point where we cannot keep that guy off the field, I don't care what your last name is on the back of your jersey and what grade you're in. If you're going to be the reason we win a national championship, you're going to get the start. But none of that matters if the elephant in the room isn't taken care of. The big issue, and that has been the offensive line. The offensive line was a disaster in the Cotton Bowl. An absolute freaking train wreck. Can you say embarrassing? That's what that was. And in the first rep today, you're starting five on the offensive line. Now, I am not saying that this is the way it's going to be, but I was a little surprised. And if you take stock in who's repping with the ones on the first day of practice on that first rep, then this is who it was. Simmons was still at left tackle. Donovan Jackson was at left guard. Carson Hinsman was at center. Luke Montgomery was at right guard, and Josh Fryer was at right tackle. Now, Seth McLaughlin, he's going to play. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sold on Hinsman as your number one starter.
Well, and let's remember too, the guy who got the number one reps at quarterback was Devin Brown. Like right away. So, right. I do think that it's important to take that as note. However, that's not, I don't read into that and say like, oh, that's definitely going to be the top ones, because I think Ryan Day and Chip Kelly are definitely going to look at these guys and say, you need to earn your spot.
No.
I don't think anybody comes into Ohio State as like the heir apparent number one. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Ennis and Carnell Tate took reps ahead of J.J. Smith in the first ones, or even Jaden Ballard, because, J.J. Smith just got there. Let him earn his spot. So I'd be more curious to see kind of where we're at about halfway through spring ball. But I agree with you. Seth McLaughlin's going to be on the field. Whether he's at center or right guard or something like that, he's going to be on the field.
If I was a betting man, JR, I would bet that Hinsman gets moved to right guard and competes with Luke Montgomery for the starting guard position. And all this talk about Fryer being kicked into guard, I don't think he's going to. Because the way Ryan Day was talking about the running game that Chip Kelly is installing, your guards have got to pull. And I just think they're more athletic than Fryer is.
Well, and if you watched UCLA's offense at all last year, which I know probably not a lot of people did, they weren't exactly relevant.
You were staying up watching that Pac-12 at night, huh?
Right. Yeah. I stay up for the Pac-12 sometimes, but only if they're relevant teams typically. And UCLA, they weren't bad last year, but they weren't relevant to the top 25 race most weeks. So. But when you watch them, they, like you said, they do a lot of pulling and they need a lot of athleticism on the offensive line. I tend to agree with you that it's most likely going to be Seth McLaughlin. I think Luke Montgomery is probably next year. I think Carson Hinsman is probably going to be that right guard as well. And as much as Josh Fryer, wanted to move to right guard, which we said the entire time, he was also saying, but I will do whatever the team needs. Like,
sure,
he wasn't trying to be a diva, and I think some people took that the wrong way and was like, oh, Josh Fryer's being a diva, doesn't want to play tackle. I never took it that way, but I think they probably want to continue to develop Hinsman, and so if it is some type of tie between Hinsman and Montgomery, even though Montgomery is younger, I think they probably go with Hinsman just because they know next year that's their center.
Yeah, it's a very good possibility. So the media today was on this. Everybody wants to write the story about Chip Kelly. The mentor is now the mentee of some kind. And Ryan Day, the protege, is now the apparently yes, sir. And everybody wants to write that story, right? So everybody was asking questions about it. So I've got a couple clips from Chip Kelly and Ryan Day talking about their relationship with each other. And actually some very interesting things came out of that. So I'm going to play that now. This is Chip Kelly and then Ryan Day talking about each other.
How do you feel about that? It's still the same way. He, even since he was playing Little League, he was the ultimate competitor. And he was always trying to find a way to win. He was great at a lot of sports, baseball, basketball, football. I got an opportunity to recruit him. So I coached him when I was at New Hampshire. I recruited him out of high school. And we grew up really close to each other. So same elementary school, same high school, same junior high, same college. So I've known him since for a really long time. But that competitive fire burns deep with him, and that's the one thing that I've always admired with him. And he's got an amazing athletic brain in terms of how to process things and how to put people in position to make plays. He's always been that prototypical coach on the field, no matter what sport he was playing. So I knew he was destined to be a coach, and I was fortunate in my career as a head coach to have him on my staff at a couple places. So I got a chance to see him work firsthand. I got to see him work firsthand as a player and then as a coach. So the success he had is not surprising to me. Yeah, I certainly understand my role. I'm not Al Haig. Like I'm not in charge here. Yeah. Some people get that reference. Other people don't get that reference. But I certainly understand it, and I actually kind of relish it because I really love the scheming part. I love the individual part. I love being in the meeting room with the quarterbacks and trying to game plan. But everything we do here is collaborative. You know, the one thing that really struck me when I walked in this place is there's an amazing coaching staff here. You know, and if you get a chance to talk to Larry Johnson just about football, or Tim Walton, or Jim Knowles, or Brian Hartline, or any of these guys that are on the staff here, it's a very collaborative effort. I think everybody's on the same page. You know, it's not our offense and their defense and all those other ways. It's Ohio State, you know, and it's Ohio State versus the 12 opponents that we're going to play during the regular season and then beyond. So it's really collaborative, and that's the thing I like just in the short time that I've been here is how collaborative everybody's been. You know, we're all trying to make each other better, and we're all trying to develop this team. Yeah, I still think the play calling part will be a collaborative effort, and by that I mean that if it's a good play, I called it, and if it's a bad play, he called it. Because the great part as an assistant coach is you can point the finger a little bit and just say, hey, you know, I wanted to do this, but he trumped me. So we haven't actually discussed game day yet. You know, we'll see how that operates. But everywhere I've been, it's been a collaborative effort. And all of a sudden, someone that's calling the plays isn't like pulls one out of left field that you hadn't practiced and hadn't been part of your offense and said, hey, let's do this. You know, we're not running the annexation of Puerto Rico. You know, we're not coming up with something special, you know, in the middle of the fourth quarter that we haven't done. But I think it's the key to really being successful in offense is how you game plan, how you put it all together, and then how you practice and train for that so that you get a chance to execute it. Because the player's confidence comes from their demonstrated ability that they've done this so many times in practice that when they get out on the field, that this is like that to them. You know, and it's not that they do it till they do it right. It's that they practice it so much so that they can't do it wrong. So, you know, I think it's that whole part of it that is really the key to being a really good game planning team.
Yeah, a huge part of it. I think the great thing for he and I is that you know, we see things the same way. But I think to your point, you know, he brings a background of running the football that you know, is really impressive, and certainly we know what we need to do to run the football. But I think he's excited about, you know, the guys that we have. I think some of our guys up front have had really good off season, so excited to see how the offensive line develops over these 15 practices. But also, you know, the running backs that we have, and all of our quarterbacks are mobile, so I think that's significant as well. But it's been great, you know, it just early on to, you know, exchange ideas of things that have gone on the last few years for him, things that we've done here, and, you know, as we go, what's going to be right for Ohio State, we'll continue to develop that. And I think the other part of it is, you know, we've been friends, and we continue to be friends, and I think that's probably the thing that over the years, you know, we're both very, very competitive. You know, I could tell you stories, not right now, about when I played or even when we've coached. But then, you know, when the meeting gets over, we get off the field, we're hugging it out, and there's a lot of love there. I owe much of where I am at right now to him. And so this isn't about, you know, any of that, as opposed to, you know, a couple guys part of a great program right now that are trying to go chase some great goals. And he's been great. You know, he's really done a great job already of connecting with a bunch of the staff members and coaches, but more importantly, the players. And it's going to be a fun journey to go on, but it's going to be competitive every day. And that's one thing that he's always done, and something I've always admired about him, and the ability to adapt over time and change. And so, yeah, already it's been, you know, fun to come to work every day because you know you're going to get challenged. But even more as you look ahead to, you know, this spring, this preseason, as we get into the year, you know, where is this team going to be? What's the journey look like? What's the offense look like? But so far it's been, you know, enjoyable to come in and, you know, be able to step out of the room and know that, you know, there's a bunch of guys in a room that are grinding on it, that are going to.
JR, you know why Ryan Day couldn't leave the quarterback room and couldn't let go of play calling?
Why, Eric?
Because he didn't trust who was in there. Now, I know what you're going to say. Whose fault is that, Eric? It's Ryan Day's fault. However...
Is it, though? Or is it Urban Meyer's fault? I love Urban
I don't
Meyer.
know
Don't
that.
get me wrong. Urban Meyer is one of my favorite coaches in Ohio State history. But did he get the job? Not he, being Urban Meyer, the
Corey.
quarterback. Yeah, Corey Dennis. Did he get the job because he had a stellar resume, or did he get the job because he married the right woman?
Um, I would like to think that when you marry the right woman, you can have much more success in your life. How's that for a
That's a
politically
good point.
correct answer?
Yeah. No, and I'm not trying to take away anything from Corey, but like, there obviously is some favoritism there,
Sure.
and like Corey did good work for what 4 years. Like he had Justin Fields, he had C.J. Stroud, which we can argue those were incredible elite talents that nearly nobody could screw up, but at the same time, like if I'm Ryan Day, I don't think I could have fired him within those 4 years at any point in time. So
Yeah, I think there was a hesitation to fire him
yeah,
because of who his, because, Ryan Day's probably not the head coach of Ohio State if Urban Meyer wouldn't have vouched for him as strongly as he did.
right.
I would think, and I don't want to revisit this. This is not the show to revisit that when it happens, but there could have been other people with the opportunity to interview, and there was never any even interviews for the job. It was just given to him. He trusts Chip Kelly immensely, and I think he would have trusted Bill O'Brien too.
Yeah,
Like, I think either one of those two guys. It just so happens that Bill is now the head coach at Boston College, and Chip Kelly happens to be a very dear friend and a mentor to him. And the other thing that I noticed is if you went back and you watched some of the last press conference that Chip Kelly had as head coach at UCLA, and you watch today's press conference, the dude is completely relaxed. Like I think the burden, whatever burden he was carrying as head coach at UCLA, is completely gone, and he's just like, I'm loving this, man. I mean, that to me, that feels good. Those are some good vibes right now over at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on that offensive coaching staff. Did you see the clip between him and Tim Walton?
no, I didn't see that one.
Go look that clip up. Those two look like they're like best buds. Like they've been best buds since high school. And they are just like, this is going to be great. Look at all the talent we've got,
Yeah,
They're having fun, poking fun at Caleb Downs in the video. And Tim Walton, if I could be a fly on the wall of that conversation, I could just see Chip going, I'm going to make your defense look like crap. And Tim Walton talking some trash back like, oh, you just wait, buddy. So that's great. I love the fact that Chip mentioned the chemistry amongst the coaches.
yeah,
And, he was asked about whether he was going to be down on the sideline or up in the box, and they haven't addressed any of that yet. They are just working through, I think, the big issues right now. What were the big issues? The running game, creating lanes in the running game, and creating consistent offense. And Chip, and this wasn't part of the clip, but Chip mentioned, actually it was Ryan Day mentioned, the play caller has to be in sync with the quarterback. And I think that's what all this is this spring, more than anything. Number one, Chip and Ryan finding the quarterback that Chip is comfortable with and calling plays for, and finding who that person that they're going to ride for the season is going to be. Probably Will Howard, but I like Devin Brown's moxie, so I ain't going to count him out. Your
Well, I
thoughts?
think that the helmet communication piece is going to help with that too, right? Like,
Sure.
Even if Chip Kelly is up in the booth, he's going to have the opportunity to be able to talk to Will Howard, Devin Brown, whoever it might be, excuse me, and tell them like, hey, here's what we got going here, or make sure you're paying attention to this guy here or whatever. I think there's only a certain amount of time that he can talk to him, so it's not like he's going to be talking to him during the play. Look for JJ, look for JJ. He's not going to be doing that or anything, but I think it's going to make it easier for him to be up in the booth if he does want to have the connection with the quarterback because of those helmet comms that are coming. I don't know if they got approved yet, but everybody seems to be.
It's going to happen.
They're gonna be
Yeah.
approved.
Also, Mike will be adding a 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank you, TV execs who want more commercials.
right?
Like, why?
Not that
Why do we
college
need a
football is
2-minute
long enough
warning?
at 3.5, 4 hours, depending on who you're
Yeah, why do
watching.
we need a 2-minute warning? I don't know.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Unbelievable.
fine. It's not that big of a deal. I don't care. I kind of like it in the NFL. It adds to the time management, but it's just like, did we really need that?
Yeah. So that was the big news coming out of day one of practice for spring ball at Ohio State. Please like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think about all the topics we brought up down in the comments below. Hey, did we miss something that you felt was big news that we should have talked about? Put that in the comments below as well. If you could be a fly on the wall in those coaches' meetings, why would you love to be a fly on the wall and to hear some of what's going on as they continue to work through the big issues for Ohio State this spring and prepare these guys for a hopefully magical championship run in 2024. JR, that's all I've got for tonight. Till next time, OH.
Ayo.
Go Bucks.